Ropecon.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Hannu. I'm going to talk about how to market your larp. And why should you think about larp marketing? First, I'm going to think a short introduction. What does it mean? What marketing might mean in larp context? And then to whom you should be marketing. And then how to communicate, and finally some practical tips and examples. And my purpose here is to stimulate discussion and give some new insights and tips to larp organizers. And this topic is not any rocket science, so it's mostly just common sense, but it's good to get some to think about these things, how you communicate as an organizer. And experienced organizers might find some of these things really simple, but I hope you find something new. And this is not any kind of academic study, so it's mostly my own personal experience and common sense. I did a small-scale study, a survey of Finnish larp organizers that I'm using here, and I'm also referencing some sources. And so this is one viewpoint to the topic of larp marketing. And I'm providing a list of the sources at the end. So why should I think about larp marketing? Everyone markets their game or event some way. Even a small game where you invite your friends to play, you market it somehow to them. And in a larger game, it might involve lots of different things. So most of what I'm talking here applies to all games, even small games. And I think there's at least 5 things why you should think about larp marketing. First of all, it helps you crystallize your game design. Helps you communicate your vision about the game, both to potential players and also to your co-organizers. If you have a large team, it's really important that you all have the same vision about what you're doing in the project. And it can help bring new larpers from outside your normal group, and also new larpers altogether, so you can help the community. And marketing can also help in securing players to your game. So you can reduce the stress of getting enough players, and sometimes it can be difficult to get enough players. I think nowadays in Finnish larp scene, most games get full very fast, but there have been times where there have been lots of games and less players. And what I think are maybe the 2 most important things, marketing helps overcoming experiential uncertainty. And Simo Järvelä has written about experiential uncertainty in this year's omakohtaisia book in Markkinoinnin. And experiential uncertainty, he divides into 3 things. Information uncertainty, the players do not know enough in certain game situations, or interpretation uncertainty, they do not know how to interpret something in the game world, or action uncertainty, they don't know how to act if something unexpected happens in the game. They don't know how the society works or something like that. What marketing can do here is that participants are more aware of what they are getting into when they are coming to the game, or when they are thinking, should I go to that game? And finally, marketing helps getting participants more excited about the game, to invest more in the game, and which is, I call building hype. And I think the participants are the people you should keep in mind all the time. So what is marketing in larp context? What can marketing, I told what marketing could do, but now what is it? I think it's communication. And who should we communicate to? There are many instances that you could communicate. You could communicate to potential players, your co-organizers, NPCs, location providers, larp associations, general public, or foundations that you need to get some money for your larp or anything else. But the most important is your participants or potential participants as well. And you have probably heard it said that players make a larp. At least it's very familiar for me. What should we communicate to our participants then? Well, first of all, of course, practical matters. Where, when, how much does it cost? What will I eat there? Where can I sleep? And is there an after party and so on? That's obvious. But I will concentrate on the vision. How your larp is going to be. What is it? What is the core of the larp? And I divided the vision into three things you should concentrate on. The context, the setting or the themes of the game. What is the game about? And then experience. What can participants expect to experience the game? And the third one is audience. Who will your participants be? And the context, I think the context should be really short kind of the game in a nutshell. And can you guess what game this is? This is the context. Soap opera in a modern supernatural setting. This is a Finnish game. It's called Pyhä. That's my own, how I would describe the game. Well, that picture also tells something about the game. Or nostalgic 90s style horror fantasy. Isaria trilogy. I think this is what the game could have had as its context. Or Agatha Christie style murder mystery in the 30s, which would be Maple Grove Mystery. That's the context, the nutshell, the game in a nutshell. But then, the participant, that doesn't necessarily tell so much for the participant what are they going to experience in the game. This is, you have certain atmosphere, or you get certain thoughts about what the game might be about after the context. But then the experience. If I go to marketing terms, larp could be mostly regarded as an experience, so experiential service. You go there to get experience, some content experience. Usually they are not functional as a sense. We don't go to larps usually to solve a problem. It can be if you want to teach something, for example in larps, or it can be symbolic, for example political larps, where you want to get the players understand something symbolic, or show that we belong to this certain group. Experience, it's important because communicating experience is important because it makes it a lot easier for the participants to experience it the way you have designed it. What's your vision? And one thing that is often lacking is the information you tells your participants about the experience. Keeping secrets is a design choice that's very much used in Finnish LARP scene. And for example, changing the genre or the theme of the game in the middle. I think that's really risky, lying about the genre or the experience that the players will get in the game. It can cause confusion and it can feel like a punch in the face in the middle of the game, that you are playing a village drama and historical setting, and then suddenly there comes this something or something comes, zombies come, and then after that the game you thought you would play has no meaning for you anymore. You just have to play, you are starting to play a totally different game. So you should tell the players what to expect. So be careful with it, only do it on purpose. And think about the consequences our players will look like that. And it might ruin the game for some of your players if you don't tell them what your game will be about. How to communicate the experience? Well, first of all, I recommend being honest and open to the players. But in addition to that, one way could be concentrating on the things that you as an organizer are most excited about your game. It can be a castle in Poland. Maybe you have a castle like this, and participants get to experience the game in a real castle. It could be a popular setting that everyone wants to play, everybody loves it, everyone wants to be a Jedi. It can be a theme of the game, some trending topic, refugee crisis, that your game is unique in that way. Or it could be the context, you are bringing a new angle to something, apocalypse from an ordinary person's viewpoint, in this case from Marvel's. So instead of post-apocalyptic action and adventure, you get drama, personal feelings, loss, crying. And the second thing would be telling your participants how you will enable them to experience interesting stories in the lab. There are many ways to do this. One could be telling that we have lots of written material for you, word material, 10-page characters that enable you to play out the stories of your characters. Or you could have techniques that make the experience more intensive, like black box. You could use NPCs or anything like that, workshopping. How you enable them to tell stories, or actually experience stories together. And then the third part of communicating your vision, the audience. And here, important is that every LARP is non-inclusive in some way. And inclusiveness means that, non-inclusiveness means not everyone will be able to attend or would want to attend the game. So think about your audience, your target group. And there are many, many ways to exclude potential players, intentionally or unintentionally, and try to do it intentionally. So you think about who your audience is and what your game design choices, how your game design choices affect that. So what do you expect from the players? The experience was what players can expect from you, and this is what you expect from them. You might expect them to pay money for the game, to pay money to travel to the game, or to make props and costume, to invest time. The game might last for 3 days. and they might have to travel 8 hours to the game, or read lots of game materials, or so on. It could have both. Traveling to the game site takes both time and money, and players have to be really hyped about the game if you want them to travel there. Character creation style. Some players prefer written characters, some prefer player-made characters, some prefer co-creation. The same as organizers. Some prefer one and some prefer the others. Players have different opinions. And then the themes of the game, to think about and communicate about the themes of your game. Is there violence or sexuality? Something like that. And also gender and the sexual orientation of the characters. In many games, the genders and or sexual orientation are set for the players, for the characters, and that is a really big limitation to you as a game designer. And sometimes it can be justified, it can be a choice that you make, of course, but consider, does your game need that division? And also a good article about cross-playing and how trans people are perceived in that, or how they are in the Finnish larp scene is by Nekokoski in the book, Larp Politics, about cross-playing. So if you discourage cross-playing, people playing any gendered characters, that's non-exclusive towards basically everyone. And then other player abilities and skills. If you make a game in Finnish, then no one who doesn't speak Finnish cannot attend it. They could attend, but it can be really difficult. And some people have disabilities. You should take those into account when choosing your venue and communicating if your venue doesn't allow some people to attend. And also, you might have a fantasy larp where all the elf players have to be tall and thin and have long hair and so on. Some game mechanics might require the players to know how to fight with buffer weapons. You can only play a warrior if you know how to fight. But a good example of this, for example, is Over My Night vampire karaoke game where the worst singers were given the high status characters. So kind of this, how well you sang in the game doesn't matter, kind of how well you sing off game doesn't matter, doesn't influence how well your character singing abilities are seen in the game. So be aware of who you exclude with your design. Make intentional choices and communicate these to your participants or potential participants. And use your design choices to your advantage. Mad About the Boy organizers wanted to have an all-female run of the game where you could concentrate playing with only other female players. And probably that you can concentrate on other things and leave out some things from the game when you make that kind of choice. An example from Marras that we had organized last year. The context, post-apocalyptic drama, set 1 year after a devastating global pandemic. And the audience would be for adult players in English language, also in Finnish, but mainly in English. Co-created characters, it requires time and money, and location near Helsinki. And then the experience a story of loss and regret about people who are struggling to survive mentally and physically in a quiet and desolate land. And we did it this way. The second time we are doing next weekend, it could have been like this as well. We have a cry rate of 87%. Let's see how it is after next week. And then some practical tips and examples about larp marketing. First of all, make a plan. It doesn't have to be anything special. Just a to-do list with deadlines and people responsible is enough. And plan it early. Try to stick to it. I don't know, we didn't make a plan for us, but this is how you should do ideally, I think. And also set a goal. What do you want to accomplish with your communication and marketing? What kind of problems you have had before? Maybe you haven't had enough players early enough, or they are not committed enough, in your opinion. Or maybe you have a political agenda you want to portray. You want some kind of players. You want, for example, journalists to come to your game to experience some kind of agenda you want to portray with your. How to communicate it. This is the Communication Manifesto by Hannu, and I think this is how you should communicate. You should communicate to the participants, and you should communicate everything you know. The more the players know, the better. And as soon as you know it, and where on the website, not in Facebook, website, and clearly with one voice, meaning that you have one person designated for that. If it's a large project, you might have a team designated for communication. And some tips how to do it. Make it easily accessible so they can find all the information. And make it easy to understand. And if you have lots of information, lots of game materials, practical info, it's good to distinguish between what is essential for the players to know. You have to read these practical things, and short description of the world or something, and your character, for example. And then you have lots of extra material that you can read if you want. And reminding and repetition. It's always good to remind them about what your game is about, practical things, what kind of experience they will be having, or you want them to expect to have. And think from the player's perspective. Players have expectations about your larp. As Uutta told earlier today in her presentation, players can expect something different than you want them to expect from the game. So they have some kind of expectations already based on what they have done before, how they see LARPing, how they see you as an organizer, and what communication you have elsewhere about the game, for example. And there are some things that are probably good to communicate only one way, that you are communicating to your players, and then they can ask questions if they have them. But then there are things where you should aim for dialogue with the players and create channels for the players to participate. Encourage discussion and dialogue. And Facebook is really good for that. You can use forums. They were used a lot before. Nowadays, probably not that much as Facebook. From the survey I did I had 9 answers. All of the organizers had used Facebook in their marketing, and almost everyone had a website and also had communicated through a public larp portal, probably Finnish larp calendar in this case, because these were all Finnish. And you can use other channels as I don't know if some of you were listening yesterday to our Klaus Rasset here about how Policy Wizardry became really big in the media. One reason he told about why it happened was through documentation. If you have many games or a campaign, it's good to have a good documentation from the game, and you can show what it's like. If you're having only one event, it might still be good to show. Showing is often better than telling. And sometimes marketing also requires the use of money. Out of 9 people, 6 had used some money on marketing, mostly on website maintenance, and also producing some materials. And then, finally, how to build a hype among the players. How to get them excited and to invest more in the game. How to get them to make the game better. First of all, let your own excitement show. Tell the players about the cool things that you are doing, what you expect from the game. And communicate regularly. Do not let the players forget you, and keep them updated, keep them excited. But also encourage the players to discuss among themselves, create platforms, Facebook groups or anything else, so that they can create the hype among themselves. And embrace the creativity. Let your players to be creative. Encourage those who do anything extra for the game. You can always you encourage it, and if there's something that you really don't like, you can always say that, well, maybe not this, or well, of course, it's good to think beforehand how much you give them, but usually how much space you give them, but usually encouraging it just pays off, because the players themselves create the experience for themselves there. So be it props, sharing music playlists, or anything about the game, encourage that. And you can also create hype on individual level. You can talk with individual players about their expectations, and then that could pay off later. They are creating hype with other players. So, marketing LARPs in a nutshell. Have a clear vision of what you want to do. Context, experience, and audience. So what is the core of the LARP, and what can the participants expect to experience in a game? And also, what do you expect from the participants? Make a plan and decide how you want to communicate, when and why, what do you want to accomplish. And communicate regularly, and don't forget that the players make the game. And when you're communicating, always communicate things that you know you can keep. So keep your promises. Do not, do not offer them something that they cannot get. And don't forget to have fun. So this was my presentation. Yeah, thank you. So here are some references I used and the larps I mentioned. Do you have any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Is there some lessons that you learned, like after organizing a certain event or several events that you now kind of used to make this presentation?
Yeah, well, mostly it has been things that kind of mistakes I've made, kind of things that especially about the communicating regularly and answering to player emails and that sort of thing. That it's really important that players know that you are listening to them, you are communicating with them, and you are together trying to make a good game. So this probably, I could tell examples from probably every game that I've made about the communication mistakes. So it's answering emails on Facebook. Just that's the reason why I made this presentation. So I want you to, and me and you, to make better games, communicate better with your players.
Could you give an example? One example. What is the best marketing thing that you have personally made, or if you participate in law? And when I mean one thing, like the one, not the whole process, but the one thing that you felt was most successful, or the best idea. Or probably not the best idea, but what do you feel was the most successful thing?
Well, creating hype for the second Marras probably was good that we had so few places in the game. That was also what Klaus Rasted said today in the presentations, that you have, when it's only limited amount of places that the players want to get there, when it's only short time to sign up. That's one thing that I've noticed that works. When you have 150 players like spots for the game, then it takes a long time to get it full. At least
having Tuomas Puikkonen to photograph your first day, I think it creates a lot of the kind of people see the
If you are organizing a larp in Finland and trying to market the second game you are making, then let Tuomas take pictures from the first game.
Yeah.
It really helps. Or, for example, have someone else make a documentary movie about it, or whatever, have material from before about what happened in the first game, or like in a previous game you have done, for example.
Yeah, so documentation, so you can show potential players what the game's about.
Yeah, if you have a fantasy game where you have a dragon breathing fire, then definitely you're going to have a picture of the dragon everywhere when you are marketing the game.
Yeah.
So it's about the images the players have in their mind about your game.
Yeah.
Have you had any problems about, like, you make a marketing plan, or you don't make it, but you try to use some kind of like a Facebook or Google Drive or some forum or something like that, and you decide that this time I use forum and I use Google Drive and email. And then some players say that, no, we want to use Facebook is the best. Some players say, I don't come to Facebook, I don't use it, I don't want it. And then there is a game organizer who say, no, I don't want any messages on the Facebook, I want only emails. And the players say, but I want to use only Facebook, not email. So what to do in then, how to convince them that yes, we want to use the forum, we don't want to use Facebook, and yes, you have to, oh shit, everything is just, so communication is so very different places, and there is no like a single channel or two channels, or there's 10 channels or something like that.
So what to do when players disagree with the communication channels you have decided for the game? Well, do you have answers for this?
I have an answer to this one. Decide early what you're going to be using. Say you will be using those, and if the player doesn't want to use them, then he doesn't come to the game. It can happen. I'm like, we have 1,000 larppers in Finland, for example.
Yes, we have.
There's a lot of people. I'm like, obviously this is a non-inclusive choice. For example, if I decide that my larp is designed in Facebook groups for some reason. For example, I have a forum that you have to make an account and access the site separately and someone doesn't want to. Then I believe this goes into the moment that this is a decision you make as a game master or a project manager, or you decide that this is not for the people who cannot use this or doesn't want to use this. Obviously, if you want to be more inclusive, then you have to accommodate these people and, for example, use, instead of if people are, for example, against Facebook, then use something else than Facebook, for example, a mailing list or a chat room or whatever, something else. And then have all the other players use it, and whenever they use Facebook, then just sell like whole posts in that place.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, it's like, this has worked, I have seen it work, but seriously, you have to like polish.
And there are tools, like nowadays, that you can get one program that you can get all the messages from the Facebook, Twitter, basically that you don't have to check every account, you just open the program and it always informs you when someone speaks about your project. But of course, I think it works with hashtags, so you have to build your marketing around
early.
Yeah.
Like if you do the Dragonbane 2.0, then decide that you have Dragonbane 2, and then have it everywhere.
Like so if they make Dragonbane now, it would be, I think it would be more shown nowadays because of Twitter and stuff like that, because it was really marketing tool then. But we nowadays when we get connect so many people, it would have been very much more effective. But posting the Dragon picture everywhere.
So to conclude this, the answer that you should communicate.
How to communicate.
You should communicate also the design choice of how the players are communicating between themselves. So the players who don't want to use Facebook, even though you want them to use, just they have to live with the choice. If they know beforehand, before they sign up for a game.
Yeah.
So, any more questions or comments?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same question, but on a different point of view. Just don't make the same mistakes. What is the least successful marketing that you have done? Like that really didn't work anyway, or didn't have any effect, or does anything come to your mind? Or?
Well, in those cases when you haven't designated someone to communicate with the players, that's probably kind of the least successful. When you kind of, you decide that the person who has time and or you just skip the whole thing who communicates with the players.
Can I answer this one, because I have one very good. It wasn't my game, but I signed up for a game, and then they had this Facebook group, and every single time anyone would ask anything of the game masters, they would answer, "Well, I can't know that. That's not important." Then we'd ask like, "How is the kitchen? Can we make food there?" "I don't know. We'll have to check." And then they didn't tell us before we were leaving there, and then at that point, "Oh, I completely forgot about that. So sorry." And then it was mostly just gifts about how hard they were working. So don't do that.
So it's good to know the responsibilities of the organizers, that this person is responsible for the communication.
And sort of like a build up on that one, if there are questions you don't have the answer right away, if you are the person responsible or one of the people responsible for answering, for example, players, write them down in a separate place that you will never forget them. Even if it's something like simple like, will it rain tomorrow? You just have to remember to answer every question.
And also, don't let the game master be the guy or whatever who the answer the question and make the only marketing. Because the game masters usually have the stress. They think all that big stuff. And when you are a little player who asking little question and then the answer is shouting or whatever, and not nice, it's not like.
Have enough people working.
And if you don't know the answer, then it's always good to answer to the player that I don't know right now. I will get back to you. I will figure it out.
Especially if it's like a Facebook message or like really personal. Like if it's hosted in some way, you might can wait a bit. But for example, if someone sends you a text message or calls you, you have to answer to something.
And be friendly.
So in Facebook, you have to answer something.
Yeah.
And then you have time to figure it out. Yeah. So, thank you.
Ropecon.